Today, I'm speaking with David Wichman, who is a project engineer working in construction at Clark Dietz. Welcome, David.
Thank you. Welcome, Christine.
How are you doing today?
Doing good. All things considering, the weather is really nice outside, and so being on site, it's really nice.
Yeah. So, what's your experience working right now during this pandemic? I see that you're on site because you're not working at home. So, go ahead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, fortunately, I've been doing pretty well through all of this. The construction has been going at full capacity. There hasn't been any major hiccups on site, and I've been fortunate enough to work, and not to say that it's all been good, because it's not, I have me to worry about here working, but also my wife has been home, as a teacher. She also she has to do her workload, and then she also has to teach one of our kids, and then she also has two more that can't go to daycare. So it's been really struggle for me to figure out where I fit into all of this, because I want to do my part, for the company, and also for, my family unit as well. So it definitely was an exhausting process for both of us to figure out a routine to getting things done, between her getting her stuff done and teaching. And so whenever I would get home, and since I've been exposed, I've been trying to do the best I can to, make sure that I'm keeping my family safe. So I've been, getting home, showering, getting my clothes all taken care of, making sure that's cleaned up, and then, giving my wife a little bit of a break by, taking care of the kids. And so it was an exhausting process to figure out a routine. But once we got into it, it was pretty good and much easier to deal with. So I would say, but overall, it's been very fortunate for us to both have jobs and both be working full time. So.
Yeah. How has Clark Dietz been in flexibility with your work schedule? Understanding that you have family responsibilities and work. How do you feel Clark Dietz has responded to that?
I think Clark Dietz has always done a good job. It's almost ingrained into their DNA already, that work-life balance. So, during this time, especially, they've been, more than willing to, as long as you're getting your work done and staying on top of it, really empowering me to do what I need to do as far as, helping out at home, but also getting my work done. I feel like it's been a really good balance, and it goes both, that relationship goes both ways. So I think it's been a really good process, and, not just me personally, but I think I've heard other stories of other employees that are able to, work and be at home. And it has been a struggle, but at the same time, it's a struggle for everyone. Everyone knows the situation. So it hasn't been looking at one person or another.
And has anything changed on site? So when you're working on construction sites, is there a different protocol?
Yeah, there have been some things that changed, for the most part. Like I said, things are at full capacity. We're running the show as normal. But on site itself, you just have to be careful. You don't want to get too close to someone, but fortunately our project is outdoors mostly. So it's not as, there's not as much inherent risk there. I'd say the biggest struggle that we've had is, with any construction project, there's always little risks that pop up here and there. Little problems that come up here and there. And having to solve those problems has been a little bit, because typically you would want to bring out some people, get together and talk about it. But we can't do that as much with the social distancing. We try to, keep our distance. So I've had to call people and, take more photos and try to explain things that way. So it's been a little bit of a challenge, but at the same time, as long as you're keeping everyone involved and everyone in the loop, I think we've been handling it pretty well. So, and then me, as far as like what I do on a daily basis, I have my typical PPE, hard hat, safety glasses, vest, and work boots, but I just had to carry around my mask for the most part. And if I ever do have to go talk to the owner or get into an office environment, I just throw the mask on, use some hand sanitizer, and I feel like we're doing the best we can to keep safe.
Yeah. So is the mask more for indoor than outdoor?
Yeah, I mean, we would still, if we got close outdoor, we would still use it, but that doesn't happen all that much. And I mean, we're trying to keep our distance anyway. I mean, working at a wastewater treatment facility like I'm at right now, there's always risk of, you're dealing with wastewater. So, keeping the personal hygiene up is always important anyway. So I feel like we've done a good job of that.
Yeah, tell me a little bit about the drone work that you're doing for the Evansville project.
Yeah, so this previous year, I had the fortunate opportunity of getting my drone pilot's license, which you need, and so I was able to get that. And we have a few drones here in the company, so I got one, and I've been flying it weekly, common path, and getting a good view of the site, and it actually has been really, really neat to see that. And along with that, some of the more focus shots that I get of like the different structures that we're working on and the different areas. Even though it's not part of like an overall site video, it's still really good to see the progress. And it's really helped because a lot of the people can't come on site, our different subs, the project manager, she's not able to come on site. But she's able to look at those videos and those pictures that I take and really get a good idea of where they're at in the construction progress to make sure that they're on task and to catch any issues. So being able to communicate like that has been good too.
Mm-hmm. Has working with Clark Dietz staff been any different than usual?
For me, not as much. I'm, since I'm here on site most of the time, I don't get, the opportunity to work in an office environment with a bunch of people, which is good because it keeps my risk fairly low. But at the same time, like we have weekly staff meetings, and we've had to do those virtually now. We typically, what would happen is I would go back to the main office and here in Evansville, and we'd get to sit around the table and call in, and so we wouldn't see the other side. But now that I get to see everyone, it's kind of nice because I get to see people I normally don't get to. But at the same time, I do miss being able to go see my coworkers here in Evansville. I would go in once or twice a week and catch up, not just work related stuff, but just to catch up. And I really miss that. I haven't seen those guys in months now. So I'm really looking forward to the chance whenever they're finally back and we can get back into the office. So
for sure. Do you think this new way of working will continue? Will it change the way we interact with each other?
So there's been a lot of stuff said about that, but I think that it will kind of revert more back to normal than what we kind of hear. I think it definitely will be more of a hybrid. But, that personal interaction is invaluable. It's as good as you can do through a video screen, but, being able to sit down with a team of people in the same room and solve a problem, there's nothing more rewarding than that, I feel. So I think that while it'll be changed, there'll be some definite benefits to the virtual environment that we're in now. I think that it will kind of fall more back to the, in-person meetings with clients and with your subs and vendors, but maybe we'll just be a little bit more careful and it'll just be a little bit of hybrid. So one of the, benefits of the virtual meeting is if I'm busy on a project in the future and there's that client that I really want to talk to, or that vendor I really need to get a hold of, but we're in different cities, different states, being able to connect in that way will be a benefit because everyone has been in this situation together that we all understand that virtual meetings are a thing of the future and will be able to happen more and more often. So there will be an opportunity, I think, for connecting virtually, but I think that we will revert more back to what we were before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, even for me, it was a little bit of a challenge to get used to the video chats.
Mm-hmm. Right.
It felt really awkward. I'm more used to it now, but yeah, it's still not quite the same.
I mean, it's still not. Yeah, it's not 100% there, and that's why I think that that personal, but you can read someone's face language, but it's not nearly as good at sitting there and even here on site, like being able to pull everyone together and look at a very specific thing, where everyone can get their eyes on it in different perspectives. That will happen and it will continue. So.
And how do you think Clark Dietz responded to this crisis? Was shutting down in mid-March a good idea?
Yeah, I think that it definitely was a good idea. I think Clark Dietz has done a great job at, you know, communicating very well to all of its staff, you know, what the protocols are and what the changes are, you know, and we get so much information on a daily basis that it just changes from here to there, you know, all the new information that, you know, Clark Dietz has done a good job at, you know, being patient, but then also giving informed, educated, you know, information out to its employees and a good, consistent direction on how we're handling it. You know, with all that information, we're not changing every 2 seconds, but at the same time, we're flexible enough to take in that information and to give out really good direction to their employees. So I feel like we've done a great job here. And, you know, fortunately, we're in an industry that we can work virtually for the most part. And, you know, working from home will become, you know, is a new reality that we all live in. And so hopefully, you know, we'll be able to do that maybe a little bit more in the future, but for the most part, I think, you know, we'll get back to normal here before too long.
And what challenges do the communities you serve face right now? Maybe we could speak about Evansville.
I mean, Evansville specifically, you know, I guess that kind of goes to a point that I've been thinking about a lot is, you know, the pandemic that we're all in is not just a centralized problem. You know, it's not just a region of the country. It's not just a group of individuals, but it really is something that has affected everyone. And so it's unique how each of the different communities tackle that because everyone's facing the same problem. I think obviously the biggest issue that most communities are going to face right now is going to be funding, you know, and that's not something that they can necessarily quantify like right now because we still don't have all the information, but it's going to be more of a long-term problem that we're going to have to solve together, you know, as the different communities and us, you know, as Clark Dietz together. You know, they're going to have to find unique ways to spend the money that they have. And, you know, fortunately, Clark Dietz has the skilled and experienced staff to help navigate through those murky waters, you know, so not just to help them spend, you know, in their immediacy, but also kind of help that long-term, you know, what's the best way to not necessarily spend the money now, but that will help them in the long term.
And how has the current crisis affected engineering as a profession?
Yeah. That was when I had the hardest time thinking about.
That's okay.
Sorry.
No, you're
Sorry,
fine.
we were doing good there
I
for
like
so
real
long.
life. No, it's real life. It's great. No,
Yeah.
no.
No,
You're
I mean,
doing great. Yeah. No,
as
really.
the engineering profession goes, I think that how the crisis has affected them is, you know, just the same things that we've been talking about, just the different ways you communicate, especially large scale projects between different owners, clients, and subs is definitely a challenge. As far as like the actual engineering goes itself, you know, for the industry that I'm in, water, wastewater, you know, there may be a little bit more as far as like the disinfecting and the different ways we treat it goes. But for the most part, I don't think anything's going to change too dramatically. But if you look at like some engineers that design like office spaces or buildings, I think that actually will change a little bit because maybe a little bit the occupancy will be a little bit less per area, just so that way we can spread out a little bit more as opposed to just filling up every square foot in a building, you know, with as many people as you can. Maybe there will be a little bit more room for growth and, you know, changes in that way. So, you know, I think things will change, but I mean, as far as the actual design goes, not as much, but the communication definitely will between the different groups.
Mm-hmm. And what positive outcomes do you see coming out of this unprecedented time?
Mm-hmm. So, you know, as I was talking about earlier, you know, it's not just back up. It's not just a, you know, a centralized problem. It's really a global issue that we're all dealing with, and we're all dealing with it together. So, you know, as far as us being able, like as a people, be able to slow down and kind of really take advantage of that family time that we have had. I know I said earlier it was stressful between me and my wife because we were having to juggle kids and our professions. And at times it was, you know, very high stress. But, you know, if you take a look back at it, usually this March through June time is is very packed. Our weekends are always busy. We're always either visiting friends, family, different projects, but we've really taken this time to slow down, be able to, really enjoy the time that we have together because, I have 3 small children, 6, 3, and, just now 1. So being able to really take advantage of that has been a blessing. It really has been. People will hopefully be able to say, maybe I can take that Friday off and hang out with my family as opposed to putting an extra 10 hours in a day and, spending a little bit more time with and communicating with the people and appreciating that one-to-one conversations and interaction that we have.
Great. Well, thank you so much for this interview, David.
No, not a problem. It was great. I appreciate you asking me.